Chinedu sat in the lavish lounge of a high-end club in Lagos, surrounded by his friends. The air was filled with laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the pulse of energetic music. As a wealthy businessman, Chinedu often indulged in such luxuries, but tonight felt different. His friends, always up for challenge, began to talk about love and challenges. "Chinedu, you think you can charm any woman?" one of his friends, Uche, said with a sly smile. "I bet you cannot marry an obese person. It's impossible." Laughter erupted around the table. Chinedu's ego flared. He was used to winning bets, and this one seemed easy. "You are on. I can marry any woman I want," he declared, confidence radiating from him. "Alright then, you have 1 month. If you do it, we will pay for your next vacation. If you can't, you will cover ours," Uche challenged. Chinedu accepted without hesitation, not realizing the weight of his words. He thought it would be an easy challenge, a mere game. As the night continued, Chinedu's friends teased him about his upcoming mission, but he was already plotting how to win. Later that night, as he walked home, the conversation replayed in his mind. He could marry someone just to win the bet. But who? That was when he stumbled upon a bustling market. The vibrant colors, the sound of vendors shouting their wares, and the smell of local delicacies filled the air. While wandering through the market, Chinedu's eyes landed on a joyful woman named Ngazi. She was selling homemade bread, her laughter ringing out like music. She was larger than most women he had known, but her spirit was infectious. Chinedu approached her, curious. "Hello, what do you sell?" he asked, flashing his charming smile. "Hello, I make beautiful and delicious bread. Would you like to taste?" Ngazi replied, her eyes sparkling with excitement. As they talked, Chinedu found himself enjoying her company more than he had expected. There was something about her that drew him in. She was kind and funny, and he laughed genuinely. Yet, he reminded himself of the bet, feeling a mix of excitement and guilt. Maybe she could be the one, he thought, a plan forming in his mind. As he left the market, he was filled with determination. He would win this bet, but little did he know that the outcome would change his life forever. Chinedu returned to the market the next day, determined to find Ngazi again. As he approached her store, he felt a flutter of nerves in his stomach. What if she didn't remember him? But there she was, arranging her bread with care, her smile bright as she spotted him. "Hello again," Ngazi exclaimed, her face lightening up. "You came back?" "Of course, your bread were so amazing," Chinedu replied, feigning interest. He picked up a loaf of bread. "How much is this?" "Thank you, that one is just 500 naira, she said proudly. He handed her the money and they began to chat. Chinedu found himself asking her about her life, her dreams, her businesses. Each answer revealed her passion and resilience. He was captivated by her spirit, and for a moment, he forgot about the bet. "Do you have any hobbies?" he asked, genuinely interested. Ngazi chuckled. "I love cooking and making people laugh. I also dream of opening a larger shop one day." As they talked, Chinedu felt an unexpected connection. Her laughter was like a melody, and he realized he didn't just see her size, he saw her heart. The conversation flowed easily, and he found himself wanting to spend more time with her. "Would you like to go out for some food? I know a great place," he offered, hoping to learn more about her. "I would love that," she replied, her eyes sparkling with excitement. As they walked through the market together, Chinedu felt a mix of guilt and joy. This was no longer just about the birds. He genuinely enjoyed being with her. They shared stories over dinner, laughing and teasing each other. But in the back of his mind, he still knew he was playing a game. Despite the nagging thoughts, Chinedu felt something growing inside him. Could this beautiful woman truly be more than just a bird? He brushed the thought aside, thinking he would reveal everything later. Days turned into weeks, and Chinedu and Ngazi spent more time together. Each moment revealed another layer of their personality. She was witty, compassionate, and genuine. The more he learned, the more he admired her. However, the pressure of the birds weighed heavily on him. One evening, as they strolled through a beautiful park, Chinedu decided it was time to take the plunge. He had concocted an elaborate plan to propose to Ngazi, making it seem real, like keeping the birds a secret. He found a charming spot under a large tree adorned with a fairy light that twinkled in the twilight. "Ngazi, I've been thinking," he began, his heart racing. She looked at him, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. "What is it? I know we haven't been together long, but I feel a strong connection with you. Would you consider marrying me?" he asked, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotion inside. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "Are you serious?" "Yes, I am serious. I want to spend my life with you," he said, hoping his charm would win her over. Tears of joy filled her eyes. Yes, I would love to," she exclaimed, throwing her arms around him. Chinedu's heart sank a little at the weight of the lie he was living, but he couldn't help but feel happiness at her reaction. They hugged tightly, and for a moment he felt a warmth that was unfamiliar. Was it love? As they pulled apart, he promised himself that he would tell her the truth soon. For now, he reveled in her joy, thinking about the upcoming wedding and how he would win the bet. But as he watched her smile, he began to question if he could go through with it. The days leading up to the wedding were filled with excitement and joy for Ngazi. She dove into preparation with enthusiasm, planning every detail from the flower to the cake. Chinedu watched as she poured her heart into the event, her excitement infectious. "Chinedu, we need to finalize this guest list," Ngazi exclaimed, her eyes shining. "Of course, let's make it special," he replied, doing his best to hide his unease. They spent hours discussing ideas, and with every laugh they shared, Chinedu felt his guilt deepening. He had agreed to this beautiful union based on a bet, but he found himself genuinely caring for Ngazi. She deserved better than this lie. While planning, Ngazi's family started to get involved, offering their support. They were thrilled about the marriage, and Chinedu felt the pressure mounting. He realized he was not just betting on love, he was betting on a future that included a woman who truly saw him. As the wedding day approached, Chinedu's friend teased him about the bet, their laughter echoing in his ears. "Are you really going to go through with it, Chinedu? What's your strategy?" one of them joked. He forced a smile, feeling trapped between their expectation and his growing affection for Ngazi. Every night, as he lay in bed, he pondered how to reveal the truth without breaking her heart. The wedding was set for a beautiful Saturday afternoon. The sun shone brightly, casting a warm glow over everything. Chinedu couldn't shake off the feeling of dread that lingered in the back of his mind. He had to find a way to tell her the truth before it was too late. Finally, the wedding day arrived and excitement filled the air. Chinedu stood at the altar, dressed in a sharp suit, but his heart raced with anxiety. He scanned the crowd, seeing Ngazi's family beaming with pride. They had all come to celebrate this beautiful union, blissfully unaware of his secrets. Then Ngazi appeared, walking down the aisle in a stunning white dress that flattered her figure. She looked radiant, her smile bright enough to light up the entire venue. Chinedu's breath caught in his throat as he saw her. In that moment, the weight of the bed felt like a distant memory. As she reached the altar, Chinedu's heart swelled with conflicting emotion. He wanted to love her for real. He wanted to be the man she thought he was. But as the officiant began the ceremony, he knew he couldn't hide the truth forever. With each vow they exchanged, Chinedu felt a knot in his stomach tighten. When it was his turn to speak, he hesitated, looking deep into Ngazi's eye. She beamed back at him, full of hope and trust. He almost lost his nerve. "I promise to always support you and cherish you," he finally said, hoping that sincerity would overshadow the lie. They exchanged rings, and as the officiants pronounced them husband and wife, Chinedu felt a wave of emotions crash over him. The guests cheered, and Ngazi looked happier than he had ever seen her. But as they turned to face the crowd, Chinedu felt a pang of guilt wash over him. He had just committed himself to a woman he truly liked, but the truth about their beginning loomed large in his mind. How could he possibly explain that his original intentions were fueled by a foolish bet? He felt as though he was standing on a tightrope, teetering between joy and remorse. As the reception kicked off, Chinedu watched Ngazi greet their guests with a radiant smile. She was the center of attention, and everyone was enchanted by her charm. She danced with friends and family, her laughter ringing through the hall. Chinedu couldn't help but admire her. In that moment, he realized he had to find a way to win her heart completely, beyond the contest of the bet. After a while, Chinedu found an opportunity to speak with her privately. "Ngazi, can we talk?" he asked, his heart pounding. "Of course, I've been wanting to spend some quiet time with you," she replied, beaming. They stepped outside onto the balcony, where the stars began to twinkle in the darkening sky. The cool breeze felt refreshing, but Chinedu's heart was racing. He took a deep breath, preparing to lay everything on the line. "Ngazi, I want you to know how happy I am to be married to you," he started, but the weight of the truth pressed heavily on his tongue. "But there's something I need to tell you." Before he could continue, Ngazi interrupted. "I feel so lucky to have you, Chinedu. This is the best day of my life." Her joy was palpable, and for a moment, he was swept up in her happiness. Chinedu smiled, feeling the warmth of her word, but the guilt was still there, nagging at him. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from inside the hall, breaking the tender moment. They rushed back inside to find a table had toppled over, drinks spilling everywhere. Guests were laughing, and the atmosphere was light-hearted, but Chinedu felt his stomach twist. As they helped clean up, Chinedu noticed one of his friends, Uche, hovering nearby. A smile plastered on his face. "You really went through with it, huh? I hope she's worth it." Uche's voice cut through the laughter, his words like dagger, aimed straight at Chinedu's heart. Chinedu felt his face flash. Ngazi looked at him, confusion clouding her eyes. "What did he mean?" she asked, sensing the tension. "Just some friendly banter," Chinedu replied, quickly trying to deflect the situation. But the seed of doubt was sown in her mind. As the night wore on, the reception was filled with laughter, dancing, and speeches. Chinedu couldn't shake the feeling that he was living a lie. Every time he glanced at Ngazi, he saw her innocence and kindness, which only deepened his internal struggle. After a whirlwind wedding, Chinedu and Ngazi set off for their honeymoon on a serene beach resort. The sun was bright and the waves crashed gently on the shore, creating a perfect backdrop for what should have been a romantic getaway. As they settled into their luxurious suite, Ngazi's excitement was contagious. "This place is beautiful, Chinedu. Thank you for bringing me here," she exclaimed, twirling around the room. Chinedu smiled, but the weight of his secret hung heavily on his shoulder. He had planned this trip to win her over, hoping that the idyllic setting would distract from the growing guilt inside him. They spent the days exploring the beach, enjoying local cuisine, and relaxing by the water. Each sunset was more stunning than the last, but as he watched Ngazi laugh and enjoy herself, Chinedu felt a sense of unease. The more they shared together, the more he felt the need to confess the truth. One evening, as they sat on the beach, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Ngazi leaned against him, her heart resting on his shoulder. "I can't believe how lucky I am. This is like a dream," she said, her voice soft and full of warmth. Chinedu's heart ached at her words. "Ngazi, there is something I've been meaning to tell you," he began, but again the moment was interrupted. A group of vacationers nearby started a bonfire, laughter and music filling the air. The distraction broke the tension, and Chinedu found himself hesitating once more. He didn't want to ruin this magical moment, but he knew he wouldn't keep avoiding the truth. As they returned to their suites that night, Chinedu decided he would finally tell her. But as he opened his mouth to speak, Ngazi surprised him with a kiss, her lips soft and inviting. "Chinedu, I love you. I never imagined I could be this happy," she confessed, her eyes sparkling with sincerity. His heart raced, and the warmth of her affection flooded through him. In that instance, Chinedu felt stunned. He wanted to believe that what they had was real, but he also knew that this secret loomed over them like a dark cloud. "I love you too, Ngazi," he finally said, his voice heavy with the burden of his streets. As the days passed, they continued to bond, sharing dreams and hopes for the future. But Chinedu's guilt only grew as he watched Ngazi blossom in their relationship. He could no longer see her as just part of a bed. She had become so much more. Upon returning to Lagos after the honeymoon, Chinedu's friends bombarded him with questions about his new wife. "So, how's married life treating you? Still think you can handle it?" Uche teased, a knowing grin on his face. Chinedu forced a smile, but each moment felt like a stab to his conscience. He realized how much he had been hiding from both his friends and wife. The weight of the bed felt like a ticking time bomb, ready to explode at any moment. As he settled back into his routine, Chinedu began to pull away from his friends. They laughed and joked about the bed, unaware of how much it hurt him to hear their words. He couldn't join in on their fun, knowing that his marriage was rooted in a lie. At home, Ngazi filled their space with laughter and warmth. She would cook delicious meals and invite friends over, her joy infectious. Chinedu loved seeing her so happy, but he felt an ache of guilt every time he looked at her. One evening, as they sat on the couch watching a movie, Ngazi turned to him, her eyes filled with curiosity. "Chinedu, is everything okay? You seemed distant lately." "I'm fine," he replied, not wanting to burden her with his internal struggle. She studied him for a moment, and he could see the concern in her eyes. "You know you can talk to me about anything, right?" He wanted to tell her the truth, to share his feelings and fears, but as he opened his mouth, the words couldn't come. Instead, he smiled, hoping to reassure her. "I'm just busy with work, that's all." But deep down, Chinedu felt a growing void. The more he tried to convince himself that everything was fine, the more he realized how deeply he cared for her. He knew he couldn't keep this secret for much longer. He had to find a way to tell her the truth, but the thought terrified him. One afternoon, while going through some old papers in his office, Chinedu stumbled across a photo of him and his friends during their university days. The memories flooded back, along with a reminder of the reckless bet that had set everything in motion. As he stared at the picture, nostalgia hit him hard. Those carefree days felt like a lifetime ago, and yet the stake of the bet felt all too real. The laughter, the camaraderie, and the challenges they faced together, All seemed so distant compared to the emotional turmoil he was currently experiencing. Chinedu couldn't shake the feeling that he had betrayed not only Ngazi but also himself. How could he have let a silly bet dictate his life? He knew he had to confront his friends and put an end to their joke about the bet once and for all. Later that evening, he invited Uche and a few other friends over for drink. As they gathered, the atmosphere was filled with laughter and banter, but Chinedu felt increasingly anxious, knowing he had to speak up. "Guys, I need to talk to you," he said, trying to sound casual. Uche raised an eyebrow. "Oh, what's going on? Did you finally realize how much fun being married is?" Chinedu took a deep breath, his heart racing. "It's about the bet we made. I want you to know that I really care about Ngazi. It's not just a joke to me anymore." The room fell silent and his friends exchanged glances. "Come on, man. You don't mean it." Uche scoffed, but Chinedu could see the uncertainty in his eyes. "I do. This isn't a game anymore. I genuinely love her." Chinedu's voice rose with passion, "And I don't want to hear any more joke about it." The tension in the room was palpable, and for a moment, his friends looked taken aback. Finally nodded. Uche finally nodded, understanding the seriousness of Chinedu's words. Okay, we back off. But we're just having fun. We didn't mean to upset you," Uche replied, his tone more conciliatory now. Chinedu felt a weight lifted off his shoulders. It was a small victory, but it felt significant. He had finally stood up for his marriage, for Ngazi, and for the love that was growing between them. The joke would stop, and he could focus on building a life with her. But as the evening wore on and the laughter resumed, Chinedu couldn't shake the nagging thought of how he would eventually tell Ngazi the truth. He didn't want to destroy what they had, but the longer he waited, the more he feared it would come crashing down. Days turned into weeks, and Chinedu and Ngazi settled into their new routine. Their life was filled with joy and love, but Chinedu's internal struggle remained. He wanted to be honest with Ngazi, but every time he looked at her, his resolve weakened. One evening, as they prepared dinner together, the scent of jollof rice filled the kitchen. Ngazi hummed happily, moving about with ease. Chinedu watched her, his heart aching with the weight of his secret. He knew this was the perfect moment to talk, yet the words felt trapped in his throat. "Ngazi, can we sit down for a moment?" he finally said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Of course. Is everything okay?" she asked, turning to face him, her expression shifting from joy to concern. Chinedu took a deep breath, feeling the heaviness in his chest. "There's something I need to tell you, something important about how we started." Her brows furrowed slightly, but she nodded, her eyes encouragingly. "All right, I'm listening. I want you to know that when we first met, it was part of a bet between my friends and me." He blurted out, the words tumbling out in a rush. "I never thought I would actually fall for you. It was supposed to be a joke." The silence that followed was deafening. Chinedu watched as Ngazi's expression shifted from confusion to hurt. "A bet?" she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "So this was just a game to you?" "No, it's not like that," he protested, panic rising in his chest. "I didn't mean for it to turn into something real, but it did. I love you, Ngazi. I care about you more than you can imagine." Tears welled up in her eyes as she stepped back, the hurt evident on her face. "How could you say that? How could you start our relationship like that?" Chinedu felt like his heart had shattered at her words. He reached out to her, but she pulled away, her expression a mixture of disbelief and sorrow. "I thought you cared for me. I thought we had something real," she said, her voice trembling. "I do care. I never meant for you to get hurt," he pleaded, desperation creeping into his tone. "I was foolish, and I didn't think about the consequences. I only wanted to win a bet, but then I fell in love with you." Well, that doesn't change the fact that It started as a game, she replied, shaking her head. You should have told me sooner. You have been lying to me all this while. Chinedu felt a wave of regret over him. I know. I was scared. I didn't want to lose you, he admitted, his voice cracking. But I never wanted it to be just a bet. You mean everything to me now. For a moment, they stood in silence, the reality of their situation hanging heavily in the air. Chinedu could see the struggle in Ngazi's eyes as she processed his confession. He wanted to reach out and comfort her, but he knew he had to give her some space. The days that followed were tense and filled with uncertainty. Ngazi needed time to process Chinedu's confession, and he respected her need for space. But the silence between them was deafening. Chinedu found himself pacing the apartment, anxiety gnawing at him as he wondered if he had ruined everything. He tried to reach out to Ngazi, but she kept her distance. She would smile politely at him during meals, but there was an emotional war between them. Chinedu felt his heart sink every time he saw her looking away, her laughter replaced with a quiet sadness. One evening, Chinedu found her sitting on the balcony, staring out at the city lights. The beauty of the view seemed lost on her. He approached cautiously, unsure of what to say. Ngazi, he started softly. Can we talk? Ngazi turned to look at him, her expression unreadable. What is there to talk about, Chinedu? You've already said what you needed to. He took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. I know I messed up, but I want to make it right. I didn't expect to fall in love with you, and I never wanted to hurt you. But you did, she replied, her voice steady, yet filled with pain. You made a joke out of something so serious. How do I know this isn't just another game to you? It is not, I promise you. This is real. I want to build a life with you, he pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice. You have to believe me. Tears filled her eyes, but she quickly blinked them away. How can I? You started this relationship based on a lie. Trust is important, Chinedu, and you have broken mine. Chinedu felt as though the ground beneath him was crumbling. I know I don't deserve your trust right now, but I want to earn it back. I will do anything, everything possible. Ngazi looked away, the city lights reflecting in her eyes. Anytime, Chinedu, I can't just forget what you just did. He nodded, feeling the weight of her words. I understand. Take all the time you need. I'll be here waiting, hoping that you can find it in your heart to forgive me. With that, he stepped back, giving her the space she needed. The silence that followed felt heavy, but deep down, he hoped that their love could weather this storm. Chinedu spent the few days reflecting on his action and their consequences. He knew he needed to show Ngazi that he was committed to making amends, and he decided to start by finding ways to express his love to her far beyond words. Determined to win her back, he began planning small surprises. He wanted to show her that his feelings were genuine and that he was willing to put in the effort to build her trust. Chinedu remembered how much she loved cooking, so he decided to prepare a special dinner for her. After work one evening, he rushed to the market and picked up fresh ingredients. He recalled the recipe she had shared with him and felt a sense of excitement. As he cooked, the aroma filled the apartment, and he hoped that it would spark something in Ngazi. While the dinner was ready, he set the table with care, lighting candles to create a warm and inviting atmosphere. He placed a bouquet of her favorite flowers in the center, hoping it would brighten her mood. When Ngazi stepped into the dining area, her eyes widened in surprise. What's all this? She asked, a hint of curiosity in her voice. I wanted to do something special for you, Chinedu replied, his heart racing. Please sit down. I made your favorite meal. As she took a seat, he felt a wave of nervousness wash over him. He served her the dish he had prepared, watching her closely for her reaction. To his relief, she took a bite and smiled softly. This is delicious, Chinedu, she said, her tone lightening a little. You actually cooked this. I did. I wanted to show you how much I care, he replied, feeling a flicker of hope. As they shared dinner, Chinedu did his best to keep the conversation light and engaging. They talked about their favorite memories and shared laughter momentarily easing the tension that had settled between them. "I've missed this," Ngazi admitted, a small smile creeping onto her face. "It feels nice to relax and enjoy a meal together." Chinedu felt a rush of warmth at her words. "I've missed this too. I want to keep doing things like this. I want to make you happy." As they finished dinner, Chinedu decided it was time to take a leap of faith. "Ngazi, I know I can't erase what I did, but I want to prove to you that I'm serious about us. Please, can we start over?" She paused, her gaze steady. "Starting over means rebuilding trust, Chinedu. It won't happen overnight." "I understand," he replied earnestly. "I'm willing to work for it. I want to be the man you deserve." A flicker of uncertainty crossed her face, but she nodded slowly. "Okay, let's take it one day at a time." Chinedu felt a sense of relief washed over him at Ngazi's word. It wasn't a full reconciliation, but it was a step in the right direction. He was determined to show her that he was committed to making things right, and he would do whatever it took to regain her trust. The following weeks were a mix of ups and downs as they navigate their renewed relationship. They spent more time together, but the atmosphere still felt delicate. Chinedu made an effort to be more attentive, planning small surprises and thoughtful gestures to show Ngazi that he cared deeply. He brought her flowers, cooked dinner, and even surprised her with tickets to a local concert featuring her favorite artist. Each time he did something special, he could see the flicker of hope in her eyes, but it was often followed by a shadow of doubt. He understood that the road to healing would be long, but he was willing to put in the effort. One afternoon, as they walked through a local market, Ngazi paused to admire a beautiful piece of handcrafted jewelry. "It's lovely," she said, pointing to a silver bracelet adorned with colorful beads. Chinedu, seeing her admiration, smiled and said, "Why don't we get it? It will look beautiful on you." "Oh, I couldn't. It's too expensive," she replied, her brows furrowing slightly. "Please consider it a small token of my appreciation for being patient with me," he insisted. "You deserve it." After a moment of hesitation, she nodded, and Chinedu felt a rush of joy as he bought the bracelet. Watching her wear it made him realize how much he had taken her for granted before. As the days turned into weeks, Chinedu continued to try for improvement in their relationship. However, his friends had begun to notice this transformation. They approached him one evening while he was out with Ngazi. "Hey man, you seem different lately," Uche said, nudging him playfully. "Is the newlywed life treating you well?" Chinedu smiled but felt the familiar tension return. "It's good, actually. I'm working on things with Ngazi." Still trying to win her back, Uche teased, though there was a hint of sincerity in his voice. "I'm trying to show her that I'm serious about our marriage," Chinedu replied, feeling the weight of their past comments. "I want to make it right." His friends exchanged glances, and for the first time, Chinedu felt like they were starting to understand the depth of his feeling for Ngazi. "You know we respect that," Uche said, his tone softening. "Just make sure you treat her right. She's a great woman." Feeling grateful for their support, Chinedu nodded. "I will, I promise." But the outside pressure began to mount. Some of his friends still made jokes, albeit more light-heartedly, about the initial birth. Although Chinedu managed to deflect most comments, he could see how it affected Ngazi. One evening, after another round of teasing from his friends, he returned home to find Ngazi sitting silently on the couch, her eyes downcast. "Ngazi, what's wrong?" he asked, concern creeping into his voice. "I'm fine," she replied, but Chinedu could sense the tension in her tone. "You don't look fine. Did something happen?" She sighed, finally meeting his gaze. "It's just your friends. They make jokes about a relationship and it hurts. I don't want to be the punchline in someone's game." Chinedu's heart sank. He hadn't realized how much their comments affected her. "I'm sorry, Ngazi. I've talked to them, but I will do it again. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable." She nodded, but Chinedu could see the doubt still lingering in her eyes. "I appreciate that, but sometimes it feels like you are not fully committed to me. It's hard to move on when reminders of the bet keep coming up. Her words hit him hard. He understood that despite his efforts, they were still navigating a difficult path. I'm committed to you and I want to prove it. Let me handle this, he assured her. We get through this together. The next weekend, Chinedu gathered his friends for a casual hangout at his place. He needed to address the elephant in the room once and for all. As they settled into the living room, he felt a mix of anxiety and determination. Guys, we need to talk for a minute, he began, his voice steady. I need to address something serious. His friends looked up, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Uche raised an eyebrow. What's up? You look serious. It's about Ngazi, Chinedu continued, choosing his words carefully. I know we've joked about the bet in the past, but it's not funny anymore. She deserves our respect, and I need you to stop making joke about our relationship. The room fell silent, and Chinedu felt the weight of their gaze. Look, I get it. We all thought it was a joke at first, but she's my wife now, and I love her. I need you guys to understand how serious this is to me. After a moment, Uche spoke up. You are right, man. We didn't realize how much it affected her. We'll back off. Chinedu felt a wave of relief wash over him, but he also knew that he had to be clear about his feeling. I want you all to understand that Ngazi is not a joke. She's a wonderful person and I'm lucky to have her in my life. Please, treat her with the respect she deserves. His friends nodded and Chinedu could see the sincerity in their eyes. They promised to change their behavior, and as the evening went on, the atmosphere felt lighter. With the issue of his friends addressed, Chinedu felt a renewed sense of hope. He wanted to focus on rebuilding trust with Ngazi. Over the next few weeks, he put in extra effort to create special moments together. He took her out for picnics in the park, planned movie nights, and even surprised her with a day trip to a nearby beach. Each moment brought them closer together, but the underlying tension was still there. Chinedu could see that Ngazi was slowly beginning to open up, but she was still cautious, and he understood why. One evening, as he sat on the balcony watching the sunset, Ngazi turned to him, her expression thoughtful. I appreciate everything you've been doing, Chinedu. It's nice to feel special again, she said softly. I want you to know how much you mean to me. I'm really trying to show you that I am committed to us, he replied earnestly. Ngazi smiled faintly but looked away, the weight of her emotions still visible. I want to believe you, but it's hard to forget the way things started. I just need more time. I understand, Chinedu said, his heart heavy with the truth of her words. Just know that I'm here for you no matter how long it takes. I'm not going anywhere. That night, as they lay in bed, Chinedu couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty. He knew that time would heal their wound, but he worried about whether he could prove himself to her. As weeks turned into months, Chinedu and Ngazi slowly began to find a rhythm in their relationship. Chinedu was determined to stay true to his promise, but the depth of rebuilding the trust was riddled with challenges. One evening, Chinedu returned home from work to find Ngazi sitting on the couch, her arms crossed. She looked up at him, her expression serious. We need to talk. His heart raced as he sat down beside her. What's wrong? I've been thinking about our future, she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. And I want to know what you see for us. Are we really moving forward, or is this just temporal? Chinedu took a deep breath, knowing how much this conversation meant. I see a future with you, Ngazi. I want to build a life together, and I'm committed to making our marriage work. I know it won't be easy, but I'm willing to put in the effort. She nodded, but there was still hints of doubt in her eyes. It's just that I need to feel secure. I don't want to wake up one day and find out that this was just a phase for you. I promise you, it's not a phase, he said, reaching out for her hand. You are the one. I want to be with you. I've realized what truly matters, and it's you. As they spoke, Chinedu could feel the connection between them growing stronger. But he knew that words weren't enough. He needed to continue showing her through actions. Chinedu decided to take a leap of faith and planned a special surprise for Ngazi. He wanted to reaffirm his commitment to her and create a moment that would symbolize a new beginning. After weeks of planning, He rented a cozy cabin in the countryside for a weekend getaway. As they drove there, he could sense Ngazi's excitement, her laughter filling the car as they listened to music and reminisced about their honeymoon. When they arrived, the cabin was nestled in a serene forest, surrounded by towering trees and the sound of a nearby stream. Chinedu felt a sense of peace wash over him, hopefully that this would be the moment they could truly start afresh. That evening, as they sat by the fireplace, Chinedu took a deep breath, preparing for what he wanted to say. Ngazi, I want this weekend to be a time for us to reconnect and rediscover each other. I know we have been through a lot and I want us to start anew. I want to create a beautiful memories with you. Her eyes sparkled in the flickering light and Chinedu felt a rush of hope. This place is amazing, Chinedu. Thank you for bringing me here, she replied, her smile brightening the room. As they shared dinner, they talked and laughed, and for the first time in a long while, Chinedu felt the weight of their past beginning to lift. They reminisced about their favorite moments and dreams for the future. The warmth of the fire and the intimacy of the cabin seemed to melt away the barriers that had built up between them. After dinner, Chinedu pulled out a small gift he had prepared, a journal filled with notes, memories, and plans for their future. I want us to document our journey together, he said, handing it to her. I've written down some of my favorite moments with you and some ideas for adventure we could take together. Ngazi opened the journal, her eyes widening as she read through his heartfelt notes. Chinedu, this is beautiful. I can't believe you took the time to do this, she said, her voice filled with emotion. It means so much to me. I want to show you that I'm serious about our future, he said, feeling the surge of determination. Let's create new memory together, and I promise to be honest and open every step of the way. As they settled in for the night, Chinedu felt an overwhelming sense of hope. The weekend away had given them a chance to reconnect on a deeper level, and he could see the walls around Ngazi's heart beginning to crumble.